I'm to explain my son or daughter something, I can't be bothered to explain too much. I choose minimal words which have big meaning, and if he doesn't get it from the first or second time, I get frustrated. I say, go to your mother. But the mother keeps going on and on and on and on and on, and the child asks 1,000 questions. I say, explain to him, I'll be the introduction, you be the body, and then I'll be the conclusion. Bring him when you want me to make a conclusion. So alhamdulillah, this is why. Let us not ridicule and look down upon them. You know what? Please excuse me, I made this introduction including our sisters because it is very, very important. It is vital. It is vital, brothers, that our sisters are with us in this pathway in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if it wasn't for people like, women like Aisha radiallahu anha and Khadija radiallahu anha, who were role models for not only women but for men, you think this whole deen would have reached us in its completeness that it did with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Aisha radiallahu anha, you know how many of the scholars she taught among the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? More than 1,000 who narrated hadiths from Aisha radiallahu anha. If you recite, you look in Bukhari and Muslim, Tirmidhi, you'll find how many hadiths are narrated by Aisha radiallahu anha, in the hundreds. And these were men who heard them from her. If we do not include them, then how can we be a civilization? The Western world after World War I, they wanted to change the woman from a woman who raises the children, from a woman who is educated and uses her education in the pathway of her children, to make her a commodity, and that if she has education, to use it in the outside world to benefit big businessmen and entrepreneurs in the world of capitalism. So now in the West they draw the woman from being a wife, a mother, from being a person of education, and if she is a person of education, they take her out of the home to neglect the children in order to use her energy to build the outside world for the man. This is a trick, my brothers and sisters. I encourage our sisters and our brothers to become educated, but to be careful what kind of knowledge they learn. At the same time, where will you use this education? Where will you use your skills? The best place to use them is in your family. And the best place to use them is within your community. And I say to my sisters, the best good that you can ever do with your education, with your skills, with your energy, with the power which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you, is to raise a human being. To raise a human being. Not to raise skyscrapers. Raise a human being. And the fathers, the brothers, are the protection. They're the defense. They're the maintainers. They're the caretakers. They're the ones who monitor and maintain this woman, these children, this family, this household. We as men, if you like, if you want me to put it in simple words, we are the external affairs. And the women, our sisters, are the internal affairs. They produce, we provide the means. The men provide the means and bring in, and the women produce. And watch what they can produce, mashallah, if you give her that opportunity. I am surprised, and I'm sorry for saying this, if it may offend some people, but I say it from the bottom of my heart. In Australia, there are times where I go places to give lectures or durus, and I'm disappointed that our sisters are not included. So we see young men, mashallah, but my brothers, we cannot do it without our sisters. Because the mothers spend more times than the fathers with their children at home. And we want educated sisters in Islam and even in secular education to a certain extent. Halal education. In the proper way, of course, in the halal way. And I'd rather my wife be the one who teaches my children than my children learning it from the TV or from the internet or from their friends who I don't know or from teachers who I don't know what their religious background is and I don't know what their passion is, and I don't know what their agenda is. Don't you agree with me? Don't you want your children to be raised in that? Insha'Allah. The youth of Islam. One of the greatest stories, one of the greatest role models of the youth that comes to us in the Quran is the Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam. Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam has a whole surah dedicated to him. This shows us how important the young Yusuf alayhi salam is to the youth. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, in the whole of the surah, He focuses our attention on a particular segment of his life. The segment of his life which the whole of the Surah Yusuf focuses on is the life of his youth. The life of his youth. To the point where we hear about his father and mother coming to the throne when he was almost the king, and they bowed to him. And the story ends there. He was under the age of 40 years. And all that story in between was from when he was about 7 or 8. And most of it focuses on when he was between the ages of 16, 17 till about 30 years of age. That whole surah focuses on that time. So I urge my young brothers and sisters to read Surah Yusuf